Okay, great. Peter, are you ready?
I'm ready, as
Awesome.
I'll ever be.
Awesome. Hey, thank you everyone for joining today's Fireside Chat. My name is Fahad Aziz. I'm your host for this session today. Peter and I'm dialing in from sunny California. It's more sunny on my side, southern, but Peter, how are things on your side?
Stormy and rainy, but it's terrific. We need the water.
That's awesome. Super excited
Great.
about. So Peter is uh, someone I have known for a year now. When I started my new journey working on this company called puppydog.io, where I wanted to create a technology to create personalized demos. One of the first books that I read was from Peter's great demo. I still have it, the older version. And the book really inspired me and gave me a lot of insights on some of the challenges that
That's the new version.
that's the new version about the challenges. This book is a definitive guide on building compelling demos that are impactful. Uh, the methodologies that Peter has shared in this book are not theoretical, but they are practical, proven, and they provide impact and results. And Peter, in addition or before writing this book, has worked with countless organizations, individuals, help them create these demos that are impactful. So we are super excited to talk about what is a good demo. We want to talk about the future of demos with the AI and Gen AI. And we'll talk about some of the mistakes that companies are making and continue to make when they deliver these demos and when they train their sales team to deliver these demos. So Peter, before I give you an opportunity briefly about myself. I've been in technology for 2 decades now. I was a sales engineer back in 2005, from 2005 to 2010. And part of my role was to create these demos. I was embedded inside the sales team. This was pre-Zoom time. So every time we had a presentation, I had to do it in person. I did over 120 presentations uh, in so many different countries with all large enterprises, with nonprofit organizations. So I had firsthand the experience of creating these demos and understanding how difficult they are to present them, especially when you're presenting to multiple people. I wish I had this book at that time with me. Um, and then from in 2011, I decided to leave my job as a sales engineer and became a founder of a startup. So I did that for 10 years. Was a very different space in healthcare and senior care. And then in 2022, the company got acquired. So during the acquisition process, I had 21 buyers who wanted to see a demo of our product. And I was with the same problem 10 years later that there's no technology available to create demos and deliver them. So I decided to solve this with my new company. So with this, Peter, over to you. If you can tell us a bit about your background, what made you author this book. Uh, let's start from there.
So, what made me author the book? That's probably the single most insightful question. But before I answer that, I want to urge everyone take a look at puppydog.io. It really represents a major step change in the ability to put together and automate demos. So let's go back a few years to when I was leading a business unit at a company called Symix Technologies. And we had grown to the point where we needed a CRM system. We had a growing sales organization, pre-sales, and so forth. And I was managing at that time a team of about, I don't know, 80 or 90 people. Um, so we invited a number of CRM vendors to meet with us and eventually to show us demos. Out of the five companies that we took a serious look at, if I recall correctly, only one or two did any level of discovery at all, and it was very, very limited. All five asked for 2 hour demos with our team of about 8 people. Managers do the math, and you can already tell how much resource that consumed. Every single demo from these CRM vendors was a sequential stepwise demo of their system, starting with an empty database. So they said, here's how you create your first record. Now we're going to run a marketing campaign and add 2 more records. Now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do that. And it took 2 hours. they never got, in almost every case, they never actually showed me as the head of sales the deliverables that I was looking for, which was really a clarity of forecast, good insight into the pipeline, and the ability to inspect opportunities and deals for their solidity, if you will. So 2 hours passed in each of these demos showing us how everything worked, and they never showed what deliverables these tools really could provide. At the end of these these demos, at the end of these 10 hours of demos, I got the team together and said, "What'd you guys think?" And they all said, "Oh, it was painful, it was awful, they were brutal, they were boring, they never got to the point." And I said, "I have bad news, folks. We have been doing the same thing to our customers, long linear explainer demos, how things work." I said, "We got to flip our demos upside down. We have to start with the main deliverables for the specific job title that we're speaking to. We've got to do the last thing first." That took place, don't laugh, that took place about 1999. We practiced these ideas, we production hardened them, and got to the point in 2002 I drafted the first edition of the book, which is another story in its own. But that is the origin story. And I founded this business in 2003 and have not looked back. It's been the best thing that, next to my wife and children, that has happened to me. How's that?
That's great. Wonderful. And we're talking about this has been 24 years now. And even today, we jump into these product demos and mostly led by founders in the startups or even the sales teams and SDRs that would do it like a 5 minute or 10 minute quick demo. And I see the same mistakes again and again, that it talks all about features, talks about the good things that the product has without asking any questions about the customer and the challenges that they are facing. I was listening to this podcast just yesterday where they gave this analogy that, when you're doing a demo or a presentation, you need to be like a doctor, like a patient. When the patient comes to you, the doctor does not jump into conclusion and start giving medication without even asking about symptoms and stuff. So just like in a good demo, you need to ask a lot of questions to understand the problem before you start offering them the solution. So Peter, in your opinion, and this is the most basic fundamental question, what is a good demo? How do you construct a good demo?
How do you construct a great demo? Start with discovery. In other words, as Fahad, as you were just saying, if you go to a hospital and you're complaining of being sick, the last thing you want is for the doctor, first of all, to take you on a tour of all the departments and show you a corporate or doctor overview presentation, hospital overview presentation, and then talk about all the capabilities in all the different departments and never ask a single question about how do you feel? Where does it hurt? What is the problem? How long have you had it? So number one, for any kind of technical proof demo, there's two types of demos we should talk about here. There's vision generation, which are designed to get people interested in an offering, but not overwhelm them. And then technical proof, which is done after discovery has been completed. So number one, you got to do discovery. And discovery needs to be done with the context of understanding at least 5 key pieces of information. So based on an individual job title, you need to know what is their top level challenge. In other words, what is their goal or objective? Let's use a head of sales as an example. Head of sales, top level challenge is, Fahad, what is their inevitable top level challenge, head of sales?
Revenue.
Making the numbers, absolutely. Now, underneath that may be a number of problems or reasons that are making it hard. So those could be things like they don't have enough good leads, their salespeople are too junior, their demos are not compelling, etc. So those are the problems level. And you need to understand those clearly because those are what you need to solve or address. The next level, number 3, are the specific capabilities that that particular job title is looking for out of your offering. And it's those specific capabilities that you need to present in your demo. So for example, again, if you had a CRM system, and you have presenting to a head of sales, the specific capabilities that person is looking for are much different than somebody in marketing. So marketing is going to look at campaigns, campaign efficacy, A/B testing, and so forth. Head of sales is saying, I need sales qualified or demo qualified leads, for example. I need the ability to track the progress of those leads. I need the ability to understand where things are in my pipeline and my forecast and the opportunities. So that's the specific capabilities. The fourth item is the value associated with making the change. So for the sales head, it might be, I've got to generate 10 million more in revenues in order to make my numbers. That's the delta, that's the value. And the fifth thing is a date by when the prospect needs to have a solution in place. So it could be, for example, I need to have a new CRM system in place and operating early enough that when I start my next fiscal year, I can start it with this new CRM system. So, what makes a great demo? First of all, it's discovery and uncovering and understanding those 5 elements for that particular job title. Number 2 is to start with the end in mind. So understanding your job title, you need to then present them the deliverables they are looking for right at the beginning of the demo. So as a head of sales, I want to see the forecast. I want to see the forecast broken down in a way that I can consume it readily, see what's going on, where there are gaps, where there are problems, how the individual players are doing. I want to see my pipeline over the next 2, 3, or 4 quarters, and I want to see insights into each opportunity, understand which ones are solid, which ones need help, and which reps might need coaching. So you start with the end in mind. You do the last thing first. And then the third element of a great demo is basically to peel back the layers, but in alignment with your prospect's depth and level of interest. So a head of sales might say, you know what? That dashboard looks great. Those 3 dashboards look great. That's all I need. I'm done. It's quite possible. On the other hand, somebody who's, for example, a salesperson who's actually going to have to enter data into the system might say, okay, this dashboard looks great. However, I will need to see the workflow of how hard it is to actually update a record or enter new information. This thing is supposed to help me, not be a hindrance. So the summary here is 3 simple ideas. Number 1, understand your customer's situation and the context, that's discovery. Number 2, deliver what they need to see right at the beginning of the demo, what, not how. And then number 3, peel back the layers in accord with their depth and level of interest, make it a conversation. How's that?
That's wonderful. Music to my ears.
There you go.
So Peter, this brings up a really good question. So before AI and before a lot of these web technologies, when you go into these large organizations and mid-sized organizations and tell them this is the right way to create demos, you would get a lot of pushback that does this mean that we have to do a lot of research one at a time on every customer, every person who's attending the demo? How was it before this discovery, and how is it you see changing now?
So this is a really, really interesting topic, and it actually leads towards what Puppy Dog does really, really well. So I want to use that as a hint. In the bad old days, when COBOL was created by taking 2 rocks and pounding them together, I think that's actually how COBOL was created. We did a lot of research on each customer and each prospect in those customers. However, the ability to do that research was pretty limited. There was no internet, for example. There was no LinkedIn. However, the rescue here is that most organizations are presenting to a market which has a certain level of homogeneity. So if you are, let's use CRM systems again, if you're presenting a CRM system and you focus on a particular vertical or verticals, you have some, let's say, preset insights as to the interests and habits of those particular verticals. One of my oldest customers, terrific company, focuses on the trucking industry, and they make basically an A to Z solution for the trucking industry, which includes things like a CRM. So they know intimately what kinds of capabilities the typical trucking company needs to have and needs to see. Not with so that's the rescue. That's the rescue. So that gives you the general context from which then you need to do specific investigation to understand this particular company's interest and needs. And here's a very important element on that. Um, Everybody and every company perceives that they are unique when very often they actually aren't. But our job is to understand and leverage that perceived uniqueness. So in the bad old days, you did whatever research you could, and then you did discovery to uncover the uniqueness in their specific situations. Today, very frankly, while things have changed on the ability to do research, I mean, the web is incredible in terms of what we can find out about people, companies, organizations, thrusts, etc. Guess what? You still need to tap into your both of those sets of information, your the homogeneity of the information about any particular vertical or job title to be able to set context. Uh, and you still need to find out how are they different or how do they perceive that they are different. And those often have to happen via a real live human conversation.
Right. And Peter, is it okay to believe that in the past, when you were working with these companies and helping them on creating personalized demos, this was more personalization based on personas, right? So that
It was
AI,
actually, I'm gonna be a little bit harsh. The traditional demo has little to no personalization. The traditional demo is designed as the classic 1 hour overview demo, endeavors to encompass everybody's needs in a single swab. And it's almost physically and physiologically impossible to accomplish this successfully. It would be like imagine going to a restaurant that serves breakfast, lunch, dinner, and everything else, and you sit down in that restaurant and a waiter comes up to you and doesn't ask you what you want. They don't even ask you if you want breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They simply start bringing out dishes and putting them in front of you, saying, hey, how does this look? You go, oh, I'm allergic to that. No nuts, no nuts. Oh, okay. They take it away. How about this? No, I'm not really a fan of pasta. And they keep doing that for an hour, hoping to connect with something that they want. That's a traditional overview demo. And so the guidance here is you've got to follow these factors that we just discussed. You've got to do discovery. You've got to align.
so I'm looking at this transition happening, which is a good transition. You have these traditional demos. It's a wide net you throw out and try to get everyone to get excited or anyone to get excited. But then it moved from that traditional demos to more persona-based demos, where now you can say, hey, you know healthcare, so let's talk about this when you're talking to a healthcare customer. Retail customer, let's talk about these three things and so on, right? But now with the AI, we're seeing a complete shift that it from persona is going to by person based because there's so
Yeah.
many tools available, so many applications, so many ability to create so much data about the person that that can be used to actually create a demo that's tailored for that very specific individual, right? How do you see
Yeah.
that transition happening? Does this excite you?
I am very excited about this. This represents a critical breakthrough in the ability to really address individual needs and interests. So the term persona is very, very squishy on its own. If you get 10 people together and you say, what's the definition of a persona? You'll probably literally get 10 different and sometimes orthogonal definitions. Um, Persona for some organizations simply means a player in a vertical. Persona for other organizations might mean, for example, it's somebody in the sales organization. What I'm excited about, and again, this is something that Puppy Dog is doing really, really well, is to be very, very pinpoint about an individual. In great demo methodology, I urge people to focus on job title as that ability to get very, very close to a particular individual. We can now even go much further than that by taking a look at what's available online. We can look at LinkedIn. We can look at press releases. We can look at all kinds of information. We can look at recordings or listen to recordings and analyze them and understand exactly what this particular job title's interests, needs, concerns, situation is all about. And that represents the next level in personalization, truly personalization in demos.
This is super exciting, but it also brings a lot of challenges. When you are doing a person-based demo, you don't have too much flexibility on how you present, right? So if you collect the wrong data, or if you took the data and misunderstood what that person does, so you look at his demographics and say, hey, he just switched a job, but maybe he didn't switch a job, maybe he just joined as a volunteer in some organization. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
miscalculation, right? Um, What's the impact of that? Do you see that as a huge challenge that we're collecting the wrong information or incorrect information, inaccurate information, and now using that to create a demo that completely disconnects with the person who's watching or listening?
So yeah, so this is if you have garbage and you automate it, you're just going to generate a lot more garbage. To sort of be blunt about it. Let's take a slightly so whatever you use to train a tool or a human becomes the basis for the output. Um, W. Edwards Deming has a beautiful quote. He said, every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. In other words, if you train a tool or a human on something that is, for example, a traditional demo, it's going to produce traditional demos. To use a restaurant analogy, if you trained an automatic chef based on fast food, you're going to get French fries and chicken tenders. That's the output. I mean, that's what you'll get. So the training sets are hugely important. So if you're training an automated demo tool, for example, um, or a human, what you need to do is to take a look at truly, well, what are the best practices? So feeding an overview demo or a series of traditional overview demos, for example, into an automated demo tool is going to yield automated overview demos where all you've done is you have amplified the same thing you've been doing before. Um, Actually, let me go sideways just for a moment on this. Earlier this year, um, I participated in several automated demo contests and some in both public and private. And I've had the opportunity to review now. I did an assessment last night before the webinar. Something on the order of 350 automated demos. Yeah, it's a lot. And about 96% of them, and I'll be blunt, were awful. They were automated versions of traditional demos that basically were like the CRM demos that I saw 25 years ago. They said, let me show you how to enter a record. Let me show you how to do this, do this, do this. They never showed the results. They never showed the deliverables. It was all about how things work and not what good things they deliver. So the training set for automated demos, the training set for humans is really the first thing to look at. It's got to be the best possible information. Otherwise, your outputs are going to be terrible.
Absolutely. And that's why, as much excited we are about AI and some of the new Gen AI technologies, there needs to be a lot of protection, safeguard to make sure that the data that's coming in has been tested with multiple layers to make sure that it resonates and is correct. I had the opportunity to attend Gartner's CEO Summit a few weeks back. And one thing that struck me when I was watching their presentation was they talked about that it's so easy to create technology now with some of the new tools that the shelf life of your unique differentiation is
Mm.
only 6 months. It used to be anywhere between 12 to 24 months. So you build the technology, you can keep selling it for next 12 to 24 months until your competitor catches up, and then you can have it. But now it's 6 months. And what it basically uh, means is that not only your product development and research needs to speed up, but also your marketing, sales, onboarding, everything has to catch up and has to be much faster. And there's no way that you can wait for traditional way of delivering and deploying and marketing and so on. When I look at that and then I look at this department where you're selling and you're creating these demos and features are changing, storyline changing, marketing messaging is changing every 6 months. How do you look at it, Peter, in the future or near future that can this be even done by SDRs and salespeople and humans to keep up with the space?
I think the answer is it's tough. It's actually always been tough to stay on top of,
Yeah.
let's say, just as a pre-sales team or pre-sales person, where you're expected to understand at least three sets of things. You're expected to understand your technology and your offering. You're expected to understand the vertical in which you live, the environment, if you will. So in my case, originally it was medicinal chemistry and pharma research, for example. And the third thing you're expected to understand is how to connect, present demos, do discovery, or organize, manage POCs, and so forth. Well, that first element, understanding and staying onto your technology and the offering, that has always traditionally been tough. That's one of the hardest things for people to do. My hope is that AI will enable us to stay on top of that in much easier ways as we move forward. But with perhaps two dimensions to this. One is what we as the humans need to know, need to learn, need to be able to present and discuss intelligently. But to a second degree, what the AI tools can do for us to support us in that kind of a context. I think AI applications in medicine may show some wonderful examples of that. When you're looking at, and Fahad, you're fully familiar with it. You're looking at tissue slices, for example, trying to determine is this cancer or is this cancerous or is there an anomaly here? Humans can look at these images and do a pretty good job, and I mean pretty good job at analyzing. But AI finds things that humans miss and finds relationships that humans miss, and are able to analyze orders of magnitude more images than humans could ever process in the same amount of time. So my hope is that those two themes will take place, that AI will help us as humans assimilate information, useful information that we can then wield in our operations, and it will aid us in terms of, hey, here are insights that you never would have found using your traditional practices. Does that help?
It does. Um, I'm looking at it from as a technologist, and I'm looking at a lot of technologies uh, that are coming out. Many of them claiming to be a replacement of one individual or the one role that is an organization. So you have these AI BDRs, you have AI SDRs, and today when you look at them, they cannot do all the 10 things that SDR would do. They probably can do three or four of them. But
Mm-hmm.
with the speed the innovation is happening, we wouldn't be surprised sitting here 12 months from now and say now they're doing 7 of the 10 things that the SDRs would do. So this is coming and this is coming really close. And it is also very exciting because if they are doing all the manual work, then what do? We do all the strategic work. We do all the planning work. We do more things that we couldn't do before because of the lack of time. So I'm super excited what we're seeing in this space with AI coming in. Um, I do have this one question that comes to me it comes to my mind all the time. When we do any sales presentation, we have been told that the present sales or selling is all about storytelling, right? And when you do a storytelling, the story starts at some point and you builds up and you build up and you build up. And as you get towards the end, it gets exciting, bigger, impactful, right? When we look at the demo, and especially, when we look at the some of the instructions that you have in your book, demo should not be exactly like a storytelling. It has a very specific construct, and it should move forward in that, like, tell the best thing in the beginning so that now you get people excited. And when you watch some of these podcasts and videos on YouTube today of vloggers, that's what they do. They start the presentation or their video. In the first 3 seconds, they tell about, whoa, we're going to talk about all these things, and then they go through the flow. So do you think that doing a demo is not really storytelling? It's more about being smart in that very different way with a different construct.
So storytelling and demos is one of my favorite topics. Let's talk about what doesn't work for humans, and that's the concept of wrapping a story around your demo. I hear this all the time, often exhorted from heads of sales or heads of pre-sales will tell their teams, wrap a story around your demo. And what you end up with is it's a narrative, but it's a sequential narrative. But one of the classic ones is the day in the life. And one of my colleagues said, "Oh, you want me to present a day in a life? A day in the life? That'll take a week
Mhm.
to actually go through a real day in the life." Let's talk about stories from a different angle. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this as well. Fahad, here's part of the punchline. You finish it. Slow and steady
Wins the race.
wins the race. Okay, what is that story, and when was it first collected, and by whom?
Many years back.
20 years back. So, what's the name of the story?
Uh, the rabbit and turtle. I don't know.
Yeah, the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah,
Although
sorry.
interestingly enough, in different cultures, the animals change. But it's the tortoise and the hare, and it was collected 2,600 years ago by Aesop. It's one of Aesop's fables. Now, the punchline of that story, the meme of the story, is my son or daughter or whatever, if you just persevere and work hard, you will do well in life. Well, guess what? Any parent who says that to a teenager is going to get an eye roll and a yawn. If you just work hard and persevere, you're going to do well in life. Yeah, right, Dad. Sure. Good night. Bye now. However, if you wrap that idea, that boring little idea, in a story that has certain storytelling elements, that's relevant, it has a twist or a surprise, it has an important message, and so forth, that story can live for, well, in this case, 2,600 years. So in this story, of course, you've got a rabbit and you've got a turtle and then a race, and the turtle just plods its way forward. The rabbit zooms ahead, takes a break, falls asleep. The turtle passes. That's the, if you will, that's the surprise, and the turtle wins. Well, the story itself is the thing of interest, but what it contains is the message. So when you're doing a demo, there are three ways to present a key idea or a feature, for example. The first is you just describe it. You say, we have a search and filtering capability in our CRM system that enables you to find exactly the record you're looking for in a second or two. Okay, that's the meme, and by itself it is boring. It won't live on its own. Okay. Second level is to use an analogy or a metaphor that people can attach to. Our search capability, here's an example. Our search capability is literally providing you the ability to find a needle in an information haystack. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. That I understand. I can get that. I can communicate that to others as well. The third level and the most significant one is to wrap that in a story. And you say, oh, there was another customer just like you in a very, very similar situation. They were in a situation where they needed to find a record right away. And if they didn't find that record to be able to have a communication with this particular prospect, they knew they're going to lose the deal and it's worth millions of dollars. Well, they used our system, they found it, and not only did they find information they needed for that particular deal, but they found additional information that enabled them to actually increase the size of the opportunity to upsell them. And they're able to close the business, in fact, that very afternoon. Bing, there's a story. So, and I made that up. So
Yeah.
there's three levels. The idea itself, which is boring, you can support it and enable its communication via analogies or metaphors. But if you wrap it in a story that's relevant and has the key storytelling parameters that you can find in that seminal book, Made to Stick, by Chip and Dan Heath, highly recommend reading that. That story will surround the boring meme of that search and find capability and enable it to live perhaps for 2,600 years.
That's awesome. That's great. I have one last question. When I started looking at solutions that are available in the market, to create these product demos or personalized product demos, one of the challenges that I had, this is 2 years back, was that
Mm-hmm.
many of them were providing these guided tours, but they were very focused on the features, right? The moment you start the demo, the first thing is like, okay, let us show you the real state of the product. Let us show you how you can do X, Y, Z, and this, right? But when I read your book and I started to realize that, please don't jump into the features right away. You need to first understand what the buyer is. So it has to be messaging. It has to make sure that what I'm telling you resonates with you before even if I show you the actual product, how it works and all that stuff. Because in some cases, it may not really matter how it works because you are convinced that this solution and the way I'm presenting it, it resonates, it will solve your problem, right? And you have people who are going to work and use the system, so you really don't care how the features work. So you have seen this industry for last 5, 7 years when it evolved and a lot of new tech came out in the demo world, especially after the COVID. Um, what were your impressions at that time? Were you seeing these technologies and believing that this is not good enough? Can you tell us about your experience in the last 4 or 5 years as you looked at all these tech?
So this tech has actually been around since I first entered pre-sales, which I will sadly share with you was in about 1984. So the ability to record a demo is an automated demo tool. Years ago, in fact, there's still these tools. Many of these tools still exist. Camtasia is an example. They enable you to record and play back a demo. Um, Things began to change rather dramatically around 2014 when people began to look specifically at building tools to enable automated demos, not just recordings, with more capabilities. And that has accelerated starting in about 2020 to the present. Here, however, well, a few months back, I drafted an article based on my review of these 350 some odd automated demos that I'd looked at. I drafted an article called Automated Demos Best Practices. It's on our website on the articles page at greatdemo.com. And I called out 9 parameters or 9 elements that people should pay attention to when they're preparing automated demos. Number 1, setting context. You've got to nail down that context for that individual specific job title. Number 2, you've got to identify the problems that that person is facing. Don't assume that they already know what problems they're facing. They may not, or they may not agree with the problems that you can solve. Number 3, present the solution, not how it's working first, but what it does. Number 4, you've got to present the value statements, the advantage and value statements. So what is the prospect going to gain if they go with your tool, or what might they likely gain? Number 5 is length. I've seen automated demos as crisp as about 30 seconds up to an hour. We're talking 3 to 4 minutes is probably the sweet spot, but again, it depends on the context. Executives, much less. End users and the staff level, they want to see workflows. I cannot tell you how many automated demos never have a call to action. They just say, here it is, and they're done. There needs to be a call to action. And the call to action should consider 2 outcomes. Number 1, I, as a prospect, now do want to interact with a live sales team, or I want to engage because it's a real opportunity. Number 2, I'm not yet in an active buying process, but please keep me informed and nurture me. And I recommend that people actually offer those two tracks. Number seven, simplicity. Keep it simple. An automated demo needs to be an appetizer, not a 5 or 7 course meal. That's just enough to pique their interest. Number eight is clarity, and this partly has to do with people using their own jargon. Anytime you hear a vendor say what we call a blank, that's jargon, and it shouldn't be in the demo. And then number nine is engagement, applying some humor, using stories or analogies, using methods to engage the audience and bring them into it. So those nine parameters, setting context, problem identification, solution presentation, advantage and value communication, a call to action, simplicity, clarity, and engagement are what we need to focus on. Hope that helps.
Absolutely. And this is the foundation of our company also. When we are starting building this platform, get to work with you, we knew that the future is about understanding the buyer to as much as we can, and then using all those data points to construct a demo and do that automatically at scale, not one at a time. We have one question. Let me check. Okay.
It's a long question.
Okay. The question is that bringing the existing website, integrating our product into it, which require constant engineering effort. Okay. So if I understand what the question is that, for every customer, they not only have to change the messaging, the positioning, but also some visuals. Is there a way to do that so that the customers can see this product exactly on their own website and whatnot? I can take this question, or Peter, if you want to.
I think you should. This is right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So absolutely, the new AI technologies, are so advanced that not only you can change the messaging on your recorded demos, you can change the topics that what you want to show, but now there's also ability to change some visual assets inside the demo. So you can put the logos of the customers inside the videos. You can change the list of showing customers. You can say patients, or you can say uh, buyers and whatnot, right? So I think this technology is getting better and better. I got the opportunity to try some of the new Google Studio. I don't know if you have seen that product that came out a few weeks back. In that product, you can actually upload any video and ask the Google to make changes or extract things from it. So it's very smart in how it does it. So this is coming, Abdul. Thank you for asking that question. Peter, if anyone wants to contact you, need your consulting or help, would you be open to talking to them or their organization?
Absolutely. This is what I live for today, as I said earlier, in addition to my wife and children. You can reach me directly at P Cohan, P-C-O-H-A-N, at greatdemo.com. That's probably the easiest way to go about it. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, of course, and connect there. Note, there are two Peter Cohans on LinkedIn,
Oh,
at least. I am Great Demo, and my middle initial is E. Peter S. Cohan is also an author who's written some great stuff, and we know one another. But I'm the Great Demo one, so I hope that helps. I'll
right.
make a comment. As we were getting ready for this fireside chat, somebody did in fact ask, could I take a look at their automated demo? And I've done that, and I don't remember the name of the person. I did get back to them. If you want some coaching, you want some guidance on what could make that demo better, I am more than happy to help. And in fact, anybody who's on the line now, if you'd like me to take a look at what you put together, more than happy to do an assessment, let you know what looks good, what you could do better or differently. Happy to do that.
Great. And I'll also share my contact. If you're looking at new technologies to personalize demos at scale, we're happy to talk to you. As we close this, one final fun fact about Peter that I learned about uh, as we
Now,
started
now I'm interested.
that he few years back he started to fly, and he owns an aircraft. Do you, right?
I do.
I
Cirrus SR22.
Awesome. And how many hours of flight have you done, Peter?
I think I just passed 1,000 just
Oh,
recently.
wonderful. I think what's inspiring for me is that you started this and started flying much later. So there's an opportunity for all of us at any stage of
Yeah,
life.
it's not too late. Exactly that.
So,
Yeah, actually, the story is very, very simple. My wife had gotten our two girls an opportunity to go flying and see if they were interested in learning how to fly. This was back when they were in high school and middle school. And although they were intrigued, neither of them really felt they had the time or direct inclination. And we still had the opportunity to pursue this. And I raised my hand and said, you know what? I'm interested in doing this. And yeah, started flying. And we now have we have a they call them missions, but we're trying to visit as many national parks, national monuments, and similar places around the U.S. as we can, and that's what we're doing.
it's wonderful. And as you know, I live very close to the Concord Airport. So, and that's a private, that's a base for a private plane. So I drive by every time and I'm like, maybe one day,
Maybe one day.
maybe one day. With that, thank you all again for attending. I hope you found it useful. If you want to get in touch with Peter, we're going to share his email, or if you want to get in touch with me, I'll share mine. And have a great rest of the day.
Thanks very much.